I want to go across now live to California. Joining us from there is Justice Markandey, Katju, Chief of the Press Council of India, former judge of the Supreme Court. He's left us here to roast in the summer of Delhi. He's enjoying himself in the pleasant climate of California, and yet he can't get his mind off what's happening here in Delhi. Political temperature soaring as well, and Justice Katju has put out a blog post in which he says he agrees with the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal in this confrontation with the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. Why, Justice Katju, do you agree with what Arvind Kejriwal is saying? Some are saying he's being unrealistic, he's asking for the moon, he knew what he signed up for, and yet he's making these extravagant demands. Justice Katju.
You see, the whole thing depends on interpretation of Article 239 AA of the Indian Constitution, by which the NCT of Delhi was constituted. Now, the principles of interpretation of a constitution are somewhat different from the principles of interpretation of an ordinary statute, like an act of parliament. In interpreting ordinary statutes, you normally go by the literal rule of interpretation, which means you read the words as they are. Don't twist them, don't distort them. But when you interpret constitutional provisions, much more flexibility is allowed. You have to see the historical context. You can't go by the literal meaning of the words there. So you have to see the historical context in interpreting Article 239 AA. The historical context is this, that in feudal times, the king was supreme and the people were his subjects. Now, this situation changed in 1688 when the Glorious Revolution occurred in England. And since then, the principle of parliamentary supremacy has been accepted.
Sir, but
which means the king
Kejriwal
is
not king of Delhi, and there isn't a parliament in Delhi either. This is a quasi-state. He knew it when he fought elections. It's not as if it's come as a surprise. He knew that he fought for elections in a semi-state. This isn't a parliamentary democracy. He doesn't have the full powers of a chief minister or a prime minister, Justice Katju.
I will explain. You see, Delhi is not like an ordinary union territory like Andaman Islands or Lakshadweep. There is no elected legislature, there is no council of ministers. So far as Delhi is concerned, Delhi and Pondicherry, these two have unique situations. They are neither full-fledged states, nor are they full-fledged union territories. They are somewhere in between. They have an elected legislature. Delhi has a legislature of 70 people, as you know. It has a council of ministers. It's not an ordinary union territory. Now, the principle of democracy is that ordinarily people are supreme. When you have to interpret a constitutional provision, you must bear in mind that India is a democracy. And wherever there is a gray area in interpretation, that interpretation should be preferred, which is democratic, rather than authoritarian.
No, so you're clearly today talking about interpretation. The gazette that was put out by the Ministry of Home Affairs says, as per a literal reading of the current provisions of law, except for 3 areas, the state government has the right to do what it wants, but in those 3 areas, the will of the central government is supreme. That's the law as it exists. Is that not a literal interpretation of the law, sir?
No, see, so far as Delhi is concerned, public order, police and land,
yes,
these are reserved for the center. Otherwise, everything is with the state government of Delhi. Now, how can a state government run if they can't have their own officers? Officers in whom they have confidence, officers who believe will carry out their policy.
But sir, let's look at what happened in the gambling case, where 2 names were suggested by Manish Sisodia. The first name opted out, and therefore Najeeb Jung says he picked the second name. Is Arvind Kejriwal being immature by responding in the fashion that he has? Because those 2 names and Shakuntala Gamlin's name was on the list that had been sent by the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi. Justice Katju, are you aware of that, sir?
See, normally whomever the Chief Minister wants should be appointed as the Chief Secretary, because the Chief Secretary is the most important official subordinate to the government. Whomever the chief minister wants, this is the democratic principle. Otherwise, how can the government run if you can't have officers of your choice? Here, Kejriwal is absolutely right. You see, I'm not neither pro Kejriwal nor pro Najeeb Jung, but the point is that Kejriwal is an elected functionary. He has a council of ministers who have the support of the vast majority in the Legislative Assembly. Najeeb Jung is just an appointee.
But
See,
in your
just
blog
behaving
post,
like his master's voice.
you've said that Najeeb Jung, it's time for that shameless man Najeeb Jung to resign. Those are very strong words you've used against a constitutional authority, sir.
He deserves that. Najeeb Jung is behaving in a shameless manner. He is just acting as his master's voice. He is like Dr. Faust, who has sold his soul to a Mephistopheles. You would remember Goethe's famous play, Faust, where Faust, for getting some benefits, he abandons his morality, his principles, his ethics, just for certain benefits. This is what this shameless man Najeeb Jung has done. He should resign. I've asked for his resignation. He must get out. He's not suited to be in a democracy.
Adarsh Shastri from the Aam Aadmi Party says that the Assembly should also have the right to impeach or sack the Lieutenant Governor. Is that also a view you share, Justice Katju? My last question to you.
Yes, absolutely. You see, you must realize we are living in a democracy. In a democracy, the people are supreme. The governor is not. Governor is just a servant of the people. The president of is a servant of the people. Chief Justice of India is a servant. Everybody is nothing but a servant. ये सब नौकर हैं, and people are supreme. And people operate through their elected representatives. That is the only meaning of democracy. What else is democracy?
Well,
who is Najeeb Jung? He was just a chamcha of the central government. Should he reign over Delhi? He should be thrown out immediately.
Those are hard-hitting words coming in from the former Supreme Court judge. Based on his interpretation of the law as it stands, he believes that Arvind Kejriwal is right and the chamcha of the central government, Najeeb Jung, must step down. Justice Katju, for joining us from all the way from California on the newsroom this evening. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.